Been doing cars since '83. I'm busting fools and teaching schools, sharing tools and breaking rules. Who's you get it? They say it's me, breaking it down for all to see. Keep it simple, keep it clear. The status quo is all I fear.
Speaking of Google,
all right.
New kind of ad layout, some changes as far as what they're doing with paid search. You're a paid search, you're the paid search guy. And explain what Google's done just here recently, and furthermore, what do we need to do about it? How's it change our game?
Yeah, I've always been fascinated by Google search because to me, it's the now part of a now business.
Right.
And so I learned it through like 15 minutes a day process. It wasn't like cramming for a final exam.
Right.
And so now as you look, I'm a shareholder in Google. I mean, it's part and parcel to what I do as an organization. So I'm very tuned into what they're doing.
Right.
And I've watched them over time make different plays. And ironically, this time they took out the sponsored ads on the desktop on the right-hand side.
Right.
Oh my gosh, the blogosphere erupted, right? A volcano of hot opinions from all over the space. And I'm kind of back down to the analytical side that we started with. And here's what I figured out. So first off, for a dealer, about 50 to 60% of the traffic comes from a mobile device,
right?
Specifically a smartphone. So first and foremost, those ads are not affected at all. In fact, they went from 3 spots at the top to 4. So you actually now have more real estate on sponsored ads where over half of your traffic comes from.
Right.
So I'm thinking that's good. And then I know a tablet behaves like a smartphone, and that's another 15% of the traffic. So for most dealerships, about 75% of the traffic comes from a smartphone or a mobile.
Right.
So
something
this
other than desktop.
Yeah. So this big announcement represented 15% of the total traffic.
Okay.
And
of that 15%, what percentage even really clicked or paid attention to the columns on the right?
Ironically, 15%.
Okay.
So my number, and I'm solid behind this, the impact that it's actually had is less than 5% to all activity out there for automotive retailers.
So you're taking the 15 of the 15%. Are you adding back in the additional 25% of ads that are on mobile?
No, I'm not. So net, it's probably even lower.
That's
it
right.
It could be a net positive impact to your point.
That's right. So when you're getting one other listing, so you're adding, I guess, you're adding another 25%, or actually adding a 33% increase, and then yeah, I think it's a net gain.
You could argue that, and it's funny too because usually Google will come back and say something if there's something to be had. They haven't said anything,
right?
And I'm seeing all these point of view from agencies that cost per click is going to increase significantly and page position is going to be at risk. I don't think so. I do think that impression share might be influenced on a desktop environment because you just don't have as many places to be seen. But okay, that's not where people clicked anyway.
No, and you know, Google's not to ever defend Google. They're not staying up at night waiting for my endorsements. But
right.
You know, a huge part of their business is they want the customer experience to be good, and they may have felt that those just commercialize things even more, and they were able to really kind of trim things up, and it gives more attention to those paid places in the middle. So you know what, I do a lot of things during the day, but questioning Google isn't one of them. I think it's best you just kind of respond and move on. But when we're talking about
actually leading into them is the best way to go. I mean, follow follow in their vapor trail, and you'll
Sure.
be there faster than any of the other automotive retailers who are trying to resist.
Sure. I mean, you're not, if you can't beat them, join them. Figure it out. Let them. I guess we can draft off of them, to use maybe a racing
There you go.
term. But
Set.
so along page search, that's something that thank goodness for people like you that can help guide people like me. But you have all these ideas of what you should or shouldn't do. When you talk to dealers, what do you think is the most neglected thing from dealers when it comes to search? What are the things you're going, you guys are missing the boat? What do you see the most?
Not specifically to search. I think over time it's been a reluctance to get into and identify the mobile aspects of what's going on. I will tell you, Danny, the biggest gap today is in the websites. The websites were built for desktop architecture. Mm-hmm. And now with over half the traffic, and this includes not just your major metro markets. This is outside in metro markets like Shreveport and Amarillo.
Yeah.
It's closing in on 65 or 75% of the traffic is coming from a smartphone. So the architecture in a desktop, when all the big companies that got bought out, right, your dealer.coms, your eCarList, your ClickMotives, they're all rolled up under DealerTrack now. And I'm not saying that they're not making advancements on the mobile front, but in today's Google world, speed wins, mm-hmm. right? Because you've got to have a fast load time. And some of the things that you might be looking at real intricately on a 27-inch Apple monitor are a lot different than what you're holding your phone.
Sure.
Now, those phones might be getting to 17 inches. I mean, there's, it's like the brick phones now that you put as we get older and our arms don't get, keep up with the length. Yeah, exactly. There you go. I think that delivering speed and delivering a user experience that's commensurate with the fact that they're on a mobile device is the biggest opportunity today. Right. So as a dealer, if I could get out in front of that curve without working for a company that owns literally, and I mean, with all due respect, they own 50% market share conservatively of all the websites in the industry. So that's tough.
Well, when you're talking about paid search, is there a different strategy to have on mobile than desktop? I mean, is there different things you can do that are more geared towards mobile, maybe a different tactic that is going to get you ahead of that curve or up in that lag that you see right now?
Here's what we do with our clients. I call it geographical amplification by zip code. So guys are oftentimes, I have one guy in Houston who wants to buy into Austin. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's take a budget and buy the zip codes that you've sold into historically.
Okay.
And then track it. And if our sales in a given month make the cost per sale work effectively, then we keep going back. It's like fishing, right?
Right.
If they're biting, then you stay with it. And so, when guys, the concentric circles are old school. The new way to do it is to actually buy zip code, do some some circular overlays in your immediate area, right? Mm-hmm. It's like Under Armour, protect this house.
Sure.
Start from the inside out. But then as you get further out on the fringes, you should only be buying the zip codes that are in turn buying back from you. Mm-hmm. You can waste a lot of money if you're not looking at that kind of return on investment. It's the same things as buying home runs and RBIs. Right. We talk about the guy who drove in from 70 miles away and it was a 5-pounder. But if it only happens once a year, it doesn't make sense.
Now,
right?
Different messaging?
Different messaging for the different ads?
Right.
Sure,
You go outside the different, I think that's one of the problems. We talk, about some of the OEM mandated deals is that sometimes there's these cookie cutter approaches. It's no different than social media, people doing the same social media posts on Instagram, whatever. These are different mediums. These customers that you're conquesting or pulling from other markets, there's a different language that they need to speak. So having the same message going to the guy a mile from your dealership versus somebody that's 5 or 10 or 20 or 30 miles, should there be different messaging for the different areas?
Yeah, I think very much. You've got to look at most, I talked about the operator earlier, but your desk managers need a zip code. Mm-hmm. Anybody who's working pricing, you've got to be able to, if they're further out of town and you get a sense that they're trying to work you against the other guy, you're probably better off saying, hey, look, come on in. I don't lose deals to price.
Right.
if you get here and it doesn't work out, I'll fill your tank up with gas
Sure.
and I'll give you a $50 gift card
Sure.
for Chili's or Olive Garden or
Right.
whatever, because they may be just trying to work a deal closer to
Sure.
home.
Sure.
But for people in your zip code, I think you have an obligation to bring them in and then retain them as a service customer.
Right.
Right? There's a
Sure.
lifetime ownership possibility here that you've got to be able to identify. So I do think probably zip code is one of the key elements to consider before bringing somebody in on a price, right? Like I want to know the zip code as much as they want to know the price as a retailer.
That's right. Awesome.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about paid search, and what are some, you go to conferences, you're talking to other dealers, and you hear these people make these generalizations about paid search. What are some myths, or a myth or a couple of myths you can dispel right now about paid search?
A myth about paid search. Gosh.
Some generalization that's just not true.
That Google, they kind of set it and forget it.
Right.
I think I'll tell you one of the biggest notions right now that I've been dealing with
Right.
is that Google should be personally responsible for the leads on your website. Right? There's a need and a desire to be in command and control and to have accountability, and I want that.
Right.
But let's not make Google any more accountable to the leads on your website than, say, your internet service provider is, or that SEO is, or, gosh, TV and radio, right? It's kind of like all working together. And so when you've got one piece of the puzzle that isn't functioning at a high level, it may not even be all that advertising. A lot of times, price.
Absolutely.
Right? Price is the biggest predictor of activity on Auto. I know that.
Sure.
You want to improve your merchandising factor, lower the price.
Right. It's all in the offer. We face that as well. And because you say, come into our dealership and save $100 off of a Denali, and you're paying for all this paid search, and you're trying to get here and there, and you're looking at zip codes and all this stuff, and it's not working. Well, I can't come in and make the generalization, well, paid search just doesn't work, or Google is really screwing my deal up. No, it isn't. They're just the vehicle. People can say newspaper, radio, whatever doesn't work, but it's all in the offer. It's what the call to action is, and so it's no different. So people listening, it's no different on paid search. That the title has to be good, has to be relevant, has to be eye-catching. There has to be a good, strong why buy here proposition, and you need to check it and change it all the time to make sure that your messaging is correct, and test it. We even talked about that. Let's do a couple of headers and let's see which one gets which.
Yeah.
And it's going to change because Google's rules change and people's habits change, and so it's something you constantly have to look at. Gives me a headache, Jim Flint. That's why I like people.
I love it. I mean, if
You're sick, man.
I know I'm twisted that way, but growing up was military, so we moved around a lot. Right. So I got effective at adapting to change, and I've got everybody. We do things in house here at Local Search Group, and so the group that I have, they're sharp, and they embrace change because it's if you can break down that learning curve faster. Brutal truth of the digital economy, all that experience that media buyer had, 10 or 15 years of it, it's a whole new world order.
Sure.
So if you enthusiastically embrace it, guess what? Facebook and Google have had made more changes in the last decade than I can ever imagine.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's why, we have a different world, obviously.
Yeah.
And we're no longer standing up on a chair with a bullhorn screaming at everyone. We're just at a big, giant marketing cocktail party, and we're having conversations with people. And we have switched this pushing and shoving customers that we're getting rid of that. And it's more, what can we give them? How can we be an authority? How can we pull them in? How can we take care of them? And really, where are they online? We know they're online. And we just need to be there, and we need to be ready and equipped and have the right message. Jim, I want to mention your book again.
Thank you.
Car Dog Millionaire. It's awesome. I'm actually about 5 or 6 chapters in, which that's incredible. It's
Okay.
I can't put it down. So if I'm reading that far into it, it's going to be a good one. But Car Dog Millionaire, get it on Amazon, and you can't get this on Amazon. I have a special autographed edition, which
Yeah, there you go. One of the best car dog millionaires I know. Right there.
that's right,
Yeah.
man. That's right. You had car and dog right, the millionaire thing. I'm still working on.
Working on. Okay.
But I really I appreciate you being here. We could really go on all day. You are always super interesting to talk to. You're right on the cutting edge, and you put things into terms that I can understand, and people that are out there that may not be into algorithms and all this other stuff. You put it in terms that we can understand, and I appreciate that because you and I, you're pretty much a left brain thinker, and I'm a right brain thinker. I'm this creative idea guy that never finishes anything and I don't look at all my analytics and numbers like I should, and you study those things. So maybe you and I together might be able to rule the world.
Dangerous combo. Yeah,
Scary.
like Pinky and the Brain, man.
Well, good. Well, good luck on hitting the ballparks. And that's fun. I love that you love baseball, and I think this book's going to hit a home run.
You like it? Hey, I got to tell you, if you check out on one of the chapters, in the second half of the book, 17 through 23,
right,
they're actually dealer dialogues, conversations where you can feel the fear the dealers have as it relates to like moving into this digital world that we now live in. You will enjoy it. If you read no other chapters, check that out, man, because you'll have a good time with that, knowing your tendencies, your creativity. And they should all go check out Who's Your Danny, your video. Speaking of that.
Yeah, we got it. They're kind of tired of my rapper video. I think I'm gonna come up with a country one next. But I want to write a book, and I have a book in my head, but I just have to get out there and do it, and find somebody that'll put up with me long enough to put it on paper and correct all my horrible grammatical errors.
Yeah, it's coming up with the title and then the chapters, and that can take 6 months. Right?
Yeah, if you're me, it could take 6 years.
And then I think what's funny for me is I was done with the book, the writing part of it, in August. Well, it was not until late January that everything came together. I pushed off all the marketing and all the what I thought of as the kind of fun stuff.
Right.
That in and of itself takes as long as it does to write the book. I promise you that. So.
Okay, now I'm not going to write a book. I'm just going to.
I just have an appreciation for what it takes. Like the people that have done it. It's an amazing experience for sure. And you have a lot to offer. I still have people comment on some of the ideas you shared at 20 groups and how they've influenced operations. Right. So it's just getting it all kind of organized.
It is.
You should do it. You should do
organized. You said the O word. Oh, it's my Achilles heel. I'm a better painter than I am a algorithm reader. So I'm a little bit artistic, but we'll figure it out. Jim, always a pleasure. Thanks for taking time out. This has been super awesome. We're going to do it again real soon, and we're going to see each other here in Colorado just very quickly within a
next week.
Look forward to it, and I can't tell you how much appreciate it. How do people get a hold of you? What's your Twitter handle? Your any contact information you could give real quick?
My cell phone is 713-410-1466. If I'm not in a meeting, I'll pick up the phone. My email is jim@localsearchgroup.com. And my Twitter handle is @JimFlint12, like Flint, Michigan, not like Larry Flint, Flint.
Awesome. Well, get a hold of this guy if you can. He's seriously one of the smartest guys in the business and just a super awesome guy. We love getting to see each other. We don't get to see each other enough. Even though we're in the same state, we're a little ways apart. It's a big state. But we'll get together soon. Thanks for your time, Jim. And,
thanks, Danny.
We'll see you soon.
Appreciate it.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Awesome.
This thing right here.